Greetings, Jedi traders. David here of TradingFibs.com to bring you the daily trend and end of the week for week 32, day number 5. It is Friday, August 12th, 2016. As always, please seek financial advisement when trading with your money, as these videos are for educational purposes only. To support your knowledge in the market, see what's going through my head on any given day. Always make sure you have a solid trading plan and always manage your stop when placing a trade. Alright, going over the trading day, always a good thing to do. So let's start out with the infamous VIX. How do we do on the VIX here? VIX holding underneath that caution level number 12 inside the zone between that low range 9.3, caution level 12 as the market continues to move up. If you are looking at the ETF, that's right, you're still in the downside because the bigger picture is still downside. You're getting a pullback here. You're still holding at the lows because you took at least an entry here when we called it out last Wednesday on the pullback here, or at least we've been talking about it, mentioning it here, and you got in on the short on the ETF to the downside, and you're holding downside, maybe taking a contract off on a pullback here, but all things red. As we lead into next week, again, still watch that zone that we're sitting here on the VIX. Once again, underneath the 12 is a caution. Once price action on that breaks above, once the index moves above the 50 EMA, as well as the T350, which seems to be hugging right now. This is an indecision time in the market. And again, we're into August trading. We're into also lower volume in the market. Nothing substantial really coming as far as econ information for at least another week. So we could possibly just simply move sideways here. And I think the market would be content. But hey, who knows what's going to happen any given day. All right, let's jump into the numbers for today and the week. There was our daily stats, 3 markets, 5 setups for a total of 117 ticks. One nice runner on the NQ, 2 contracts up to the Globex high. The rest just trying to pull something out on a scalp. That's all we managed to get. Always starting our day off with Kenny Polcari's newsletter highlights. Go ahead and click here to read his daily newsletter and subscribe to get the macro data and his insight. And there we can. Again, first number there is today's data. And it kind of mixed from negative positive. Consumer sentiment still above the 90, increase over last. So the number in the parentheses from here on out, if you've been watching my videos, if not, and this is your first time, welcome, by the way. Here's the number inside the parentheses. That is the number in relation to previous month's data. So kind of get a baseline there for where we are at. All right, so you got the data for the week. Weekly total here, 25 setups, 721 ticks. Again, one big loss this week on the NQ to downside, 32 ticks. Waited for that setup and came back. All right, let's take a look at the, excuse me, where's that chart? Overall setups for the session. Running through the charts here, I apologize. I did have a chart here to show you. Let's go ahead and pull that up because there it is right there. All right, where'd that one go? Snuck up on me. I think oh, there it is. Okay, price action all across the board for today. All right, there she is. Price action all across the board on the NQ. Again, that last minute setup all the way up to the Globex high. Pretty much chop session throughout. Really not getting anything going. Wanted for many charts in sync. So yeah, we had a set up here in the mid-morning session. Did not take it. Again, there was the best of the moves. And let that first one go as that was already mid. That setup was already 1 hour pre-market. We'll go ahead and take a look at that. So there it is, YM, 2 setups to the downside. ES getting a small portion of that underneath. Some significant key lines, and then back upside right at the tops as it broke above the Globex and I'm sorry, not the Globex, but up to the midnight open there. So being able to take just about a point scalp on that. All right, in a little more depth here. Here we go. We saw that YM to the downside here. Price action around European close with a small setup. Price action bounced out at break even, and then back upside, back downside for another small scalp. Again, you're looking for as many charts in sync. Let's pull up that percent predictor again. There it is. When you see price action again in as many charts in sync, you have a high probability of continued trend and momentum. Again, it doesn't mean you always have to wait for 10 out of 10. There's 10 signals here. You can take it with as many as you want. But again, when you have a good number of charts in sync by technical standard, we're looking for a long entry or short entry. That's what we're waiting for, and that's exactly what we had here on the YM. But again, sometimes you just get stopped out. All right, NQ is the best of the best trends today. Is price action on the buy signal above the T350. So again, just looking at that chart, we had a 9 out of 10 on this as price action lifted here. Excuse me. And gave us a run all the way up to the Globex high here. Very nice. Again, the T3 on the 15 tick chart here, mid tick range chart, not yet there. So again, 3 charts in sync now. Break above the T350 and the 50. And you did have the midnight open right there, but again, all more charts in sync. Ran it up here towards the end and exited. All right, taking a look at the, let's get the mouse over here to work today. All right, ES again, 2 setups to the downside. Price action underneath the U.S. Open and Globex low. There we were showing that on the big picture. Again, just a scalp attitude, even though we had 5 charts in the red. AD line was pretty much chopping across the board. And so nice move here on the ES, and then back to the upside, breaking above. Again, early entry here right at the U.S. Open and below the T350. Grabbed that entry above the U.S. Open with the midnight open there. Decided to try and go for at least a point. I usually like to go for at least 6 ticks, but decide to come off its 1 point, and lucky enough it only went up about another tick or two, and simply exited, and that was the end of the session. As of note on trend beyond the indices, taking a look at the crude here. Crude, a great example of that percent predictor that we're talking about. As many charts in sync, there it was, 5 charts to the upside, breaking above the T350, and there it went. We had a couple of entries prior. We'll take a look at that here in a little bit, but again, all 5 charts in sync here. Beautiful move on the crude to the upside, as well as on the gold to the downside. Maybe not as many charts in sync, but again, you had at least 2 to almost 3 charts in the red as price action came down here. Again, catching up. If you were on a smaller time frame, probably would have had the earlier entry, but very nice trending move, at least on the HA bars and below the T350 and the 50 EMA. And there you go. You don't have to have 10 out of 10 charts. You can sometimes just simply go at least half those charts in your favor in technical momentum. All right, again, once again, they're the setups for today that we just saw. Price action all across the board. Just a little bit of a nice long trend there on the NQ. And there was our last... seem to have my charts out of order here today. I apologize on that. All right, those were our 2 trends for the day for the most part, to the downside and back to the upside, especially on the ES towards there at the close of the session. All right, let's jump right into the AD line. As the AD line really geared that price action to the downside, as we saw price action stall here like on the ES. AD line pretty much fizzled out. Got another little lift towards the afternoon session. Don't ask yourselves why we're at the highs. We're simply up there, and you just go ahead and trade the charts intraday and be ready in both directions. All right, let's get the big picture here. It's price action on the fib targets. Again, based on the high to low or low to high of the previous session. On a fib, I moved that move that Fibonacci retracement over to the 50% line to the midnight open, and you got yourselves a fib target for the day. There's the target high, NQ being able to hit that, and YM to the downside, and ES not being able to hit either. To looking at the daily gaps, price action again still at the highs, above that all-time high zone. We got all indices with open gaps down below. As soon as this market and in VIX return decide to do a little self-correction here, markets will come back and close out those open gaps. But as far as we stand right now with the low volume market, summer trading, election year, a lot of things in doubt. I don't know if this market's ready to come back that hard, but hey, anything can happen. We never know. Take a look at the crude. Again, crude closing out an open gap this week, so nice lift here today. As we just saw on the charts, we got 2 open gaps above and below. Take a look at the profile again, a little weak to the upside. I love the ES profile here. You got that outlier closing almost out the POC above, and downside with 70% of the trading. So very nice repair from yesterday's price action. Again, pretty okay profile there on the NQ. A little bit of a longer tail would have preferred, but again, closing out yesterday's VPOC. And the crude, very nice profile. Again, nice strong day to the upside, giving a little price action downside, closing the POC down there. Not getting all the way up to the POC upstairs, but closing out also a previous open VPOC. So again, when you look at the point of control, you look at the profile for the day, and you look at today's price action, today good solid trading day on the crude. All right, let's jump into the 5-minute charts as we see price action again holding in that 25-minute open range, having those lines on the chart, key essential charts as price action lifted up to the cam level there on the crude and closing itself out. Love to watch that cam level every day. And again, for the most part, ES across the board, inside chop. In that first 25-minute open range, tried to get that move to the upside, but it was to the downside and really back up. So all across the board, it really was the NQ, which was the mover holding to the daily gap here towards the European close, coming down to that Globex low, and then that lift there that we got on the NQ breaking upside and finishing out towards that Globex high and closing out the session. Taking a look at the crude on the daily trend charts with only the 5 charts in sync. Again, we said good profile today. No open gaps to close, but again, nice, smooth, solid body. Again, the previous entries we talked about in the trading room today, you had a buy signal here, you had a buy signal here, but again, there were other indicators. 25-minute open range was right in the way. You're holding off again. The buy signal very nice above the T350, but it was this chart with just about all 5 charts in sync that was the mover to the upside, and so crude with a nice lift. There was your trend of the day. Again, it pulled back and finished off the session upside with more charts in the green. Again, this I would have held off before the T350, the pullback here, and to close out the session here towards, if you're going to trade crude towards the end of the day. Taking a look at the YM, again, YM, there was our London session high, Globex low down here. Nice move on the YM to the downside like we looked. Again, this was already pre-market, left it alone. A lot of chop action, left it alone. There was our first entry on the sell signal downside on the YM, second signal there, and that was it for the most part. Taking a look at the NQ, again, we saw the price action very much pre-market set a chop. That was your overnight session, not a lot of movement, and then sell signal to the downside. There was one of the I let that one go, even though when we had at least above 50% technical trend in play here. Pullback, no move here. Sell signal down here. The tick count was not in our favor. AD line was struggling. That's why we left that one alone. Buy signal to the upside, nothing to go there. So it was this pretty much left the NQ alone all day, even though this started to look like a nice move to the downside. But waiting for as many charts in sync here. Buy signal to the upside, break the T350. That was the move of the day. Taking a look at the gold, which we already saw. Nice move to the downside. Taking a look at the ES, same picture here. Not much movement for the most part in the about 2/3 of the session today. It wasn't until the sell signal downside. But again, sell signal at first, 3 charts in sync. Not a bad entry here. Waited for the Globex low and the break of the London session low here. And there it was, setup number 1 and then setup number 2 for a little scalp up here. So not much to say on the ES. And wrapping it up on the 6E, again, first initial entry up here. Pullback. And then best of the best right here. Well, actually, I apologize. Best of the best towards the end of the session, towards the Globex low. Not a bad entry. You're under the T350 here. You have at least 2 charts in sync at this point. Even though we're green over here, we're watching the 5144. Yeah, the 5144, which is this chart right here on the 6E. You're probably most likely underneath the 50 and the 144, giving you about two and a half charts in the red. And you're about to cross over downside. So I would have taken the risk here if I was on the euro, but we were noting the trend. It was a nice entry to the downside, and then the best of the best entries here towards the end of the session. All right, let's take a look at the crude as crude continues. As we've mentioned all week, price action again now on the 4-hour, lifting back up after a pullback inside the 5144. We're back upside, solid body tail up. We've talked about it every day. So now if you're watching the videos of what we've been talking about, that was the pullback we're looking for, holding above the 144. I'd like to see that continued trend on the crude upside. So that means as we head into next week, you want to watch those daily gaps upside. 55.41 is the extreme high. You want to watch for open VPOCs as well as Fibonacci's, which would be a line that you'd want to be aware of as the downtrend here. Even though the uptrend held up, the downtrend now coming back. We're talking from high to low. We're pulling back to about 50% line. So be aware of 45.40, 46.55 as we head back upside. And again, you're watching that 4-hour chart. Again, the 4-hour chart. Let's get that 4-hour chart back up. There we go, 4-hour chart. As long as we hold upside, and continue the upside trend, then you're good to be on the trend momentum to the upside. If there's any pullback, you'll want to see the crude charts look for support first off the 144 and then off the T3, I apologize, the 50 EMA, but at least starting to gain some momentum upside. So I like to see crude continue that direction. Always be ready both directions every single day. All right, taking a look across the boards as we wrap this up. Daily trend across the board still holding above the 50 and the 200. We've talked about volume here in August to be low. That's exactly what we're getting across the board. Our last good volume day was back at the beginning of August, first day of the month. Since then, we've been under the 60 period, but we are holding at the highs sideways, only looking for at least 1 to 2 setups every day. Again, like we just saw on the crude, we're finding that support. We find a support off the T350 here, so all three indices holding above the T350 in a pullback here on the ES and the YM on the T350s, as we can see the 10 EMA in the white here, but the 5 in a pullback. So you know, we want to see if this is going to hold up next week. If not, we're going to look for the pullback to at least the 50 EMA or at least the T350. Again, if we break that, we look to the 144, which will give us the intraday shorts, higher probability to the downside. All right, looking ahead as we look to next week. Again, I said the last week of August is what you want to be aware of. But again, as we head in, we look to the Red Star events, housing, consumer price. We have FOMC minutes on Wednesday with crude, so keep an eye open for that. Thursday, full of data. And then Friday, not much data there. And all we have is the rig count as we head in to towards the end of the month here. All right. Guys, that concludes today's daily trend. Feel free to stop by at tradingfibs.com or any of my social media outlets to obtain more information. My trading mantra, one simple strategy, any chart, any time frame will keep you disciplined. You can find me every day on Twitter at TradingFibs. And as always, I leave the crystal ball to the experts. I only trade what's in front of me on my charts. And as always, leave your bias at the door when trading. Make sure you check out my weekly recap. This is last week's Week 31 recap, where I go ahead and post the weekly results, including the econ data of the week, chart of the week, including the stats from each day, and the video. So I'll go ahead and post that here momentarily. And as well as you can always check out each daily session blog with its stats and more individualized charts. All right, guys, have yourselves a Blue Zone weekend wherever it may be. Good day, good night, and good trading to ya.